You feel
That's
me?
why the fact that Kyle is even here to like, you know what I'm saying?
That's funny. This is not like literally playing. Like, it's really like the way I hit you two guys up. Because I told you when I saw you, I was like, I got to get my man Kyle on the podcast. And then, like, it literally was that. And it was kind of like the same thing, which was like, yo, like, who's in the AUC that, like, I know got a dope story and that I trust behind a microphone.
Facts.
And that like, for real, because I know a lot of dudes that, like,
will come in and say anything.
Come in here and just
backspace.
And the funny thing is about all of this, me and Dre Sean had a whole conversation about starting a podcast. We had a whole conversation on Twitter. Like, I could pull up. Charlie was on it. Charlie was on it.
Supposed to be a part of it too. That's
it's
when I go over there, I'm gonna stay here. We gonna find a way to connect it.
Like it's crazy the way that God brings people together.
That really is a blessing.
Bring together. All right, go ahead. Yeah, how you find the time and the purpose to do your thing, to build your thing?
I was gonna tell my Dre Sean story, man, because
this is actually good.
Everybody loves it. But and like you said, it's very true. You know, everything come together for the goodness and glory of the kingdom, because it's so interesting. Because now that I'm about to exit, I'm about to graduate as a senior, and trying to see some of my dreams like materializing itself. Like, it's similar dreams and similar like minds and similar ways that we all have a kind of the same passion, whether it be for community or to exhibit storytelling. And it's crazy that in his own individual pockets, because like as you said, I didn't know the conversation that y'all had with him. I didn't know that the conversation that preceded this, and I didn't even know that y'all was in the same hall together. Freshman year.
Same floor, right? Same floor.
Yeah.
Look, that's crazy.
I was 204. You was 223, right?
Yeah, 223.
And it's funny because even my close relationships now in the college still stem from Brazil, me standing in my freshman year, and those ties run deep, man. A lot of those guys be your brothers for life. But I ran into Dre Sean, man. It was in front of King Chapel.
Yep.
In front of King Chapel, man. I'm walking. I forgot what I was doing. This is last year. I'm walking doing something totally different. I think I had I know I was kind of like dressed up type thing, but I was dressed up. I was going somewhere, and I just seen all these kids like in front of, or like these young dudes in front of King's Chapel. So I go over there, man, and I heard this guy speaking, but he's like real loud and authoritative. You know what I'm saying? But like it was something about his voice. It was a guy that went before you, right? Okay, it was a guy before that went before him. So I peeped. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I guess they're giving like hall speeches. Was it?
Yeah, it was for hall president.
It was a hall president, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, man. This is nice. And then like when Dre got up and spoke, I'm like, well, yo, who's this dude, man? I'm like, I don't know who this dude is, or what he does, stuff like that. I'm like, I think he's a little old to be a hall president. It looked like he must have been in Morehouse like 4 years, like the way he like spoke and the way he carried himself. You can tell a lot about a person, one with the confidence they exude and the reaction they get from others, because.
Charlie had to show the slight drip real quick. He had
to show the slight drip. Look, man, the how people, I always say character is not about, what people say in front of you. It's about what they say when you leave the room. It's about, who vouches for you, who come to your aid, or who speaks up for you in a place that you may not have a voice. And I noticed that immediately, man. I don't know if it was Cam Rollins or it was somebody that
Cam was definitely there with this.
Yeah, it was Cam. It was Cam that was there. And he was like, man, look, I don't know, how everything about the line, but you need to watch out for this dude. You need to talk to this dude. This dude has an amazing story. You need to get to know this dude. And even if Cam didn't say, you can see a light on people. And then when, Cam said it, and Cam is a guy that I looked up to when I came in. Morehouse, him and JD, and Cam's like a big bro to me. So, when Cam says something, I definitely take heed. But when I see it materialize for myself, and then the natural relationship started to build and bond. I think we probably wrapped after that. We wrapped after that.
We realized we were both bonders. So
yeah, we realized. Yeah. It was a lot of them. Eureka type moments. Like, oh, okay, like this is dope. But yeah, man, that was my experience, and ever since, and it's been a bunch of experiences far in between. Like as far as like interaction and us hanging out, kicking whatever. But it's the moments where like. It's Tuesday, and I can call you Tuesday night to DJ an event Wednesday morning for kids, and there's not any hesitation. You know what I'm saying? There's not any like, there's not any self-conceit in the sense that like you're just doing it for the love. You're doing it because of so many of the right reasons. And it's Morehouse has that, and there's a group of guys within Morehouse that generally puts others first. And I truly believe that I've had a chance to encounter some amazing people, and that's kind of what inspired me. Like, yo, I can't leave here without telling some of these amazing people's story or giving them the chance to tell their story, man. Because it's a utopian society, as I always say, as far as Morehouse, and some of these stories have to be shared, to the public. So, everybody love you, man. You the real celebrity out this joint, man.
I really wish, man. I really don't look at myself that way though. I look at it as just, what I'm saying. I'm a very big people person, and that was way before the DJing thing. That was way before anything that I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? I really just connect with people. You know what I'm saying? I don't even look at it as networking. I think networking is, looking at what you can get out of a person and what you can, maybe return a favor for them in return. I look at it so much deeper than that, though. But I think you build connections. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just a network. It's more than just me picking up the phone, calling you when I need something. You know what I'm saying? It's genuine relationships, bro. And I think that's where it all stemmed from. The reason why so many people began to support me when I started DJing is because they were familiar with me and my character before I was DJ Rico Belli. You know what I'm saying? So it was just that. But I put go back to what I was beginning to kind of put together. So you have to identify the difference between your passion and your purpose, because your purpose is what's gonna make room for your passion to shine. If that makes sense. The reason why you're doing it, whatever it is you're passionate about, why you're doing it is what's going to be the important part. It's not about what you're doing.
Say it one more time.
So it's
your passion.
So your purpose has to make room for your passion to shine. And what I mean by that is, it's not about what you do. It's about why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I can sit here and say, yeah, I've done this and I've done that and I've done that and I've done that. But then at some point, it's going to sound like you bragging or you just talking about yourself. But exactly. So, but when you go into detail about why you're doing this thing and why this part specifically was important to you, know what I'm saying? And like the process, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people see what's put out, but they don't see what goes in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's just the hardest thing. Like, especially within the field that I put myself in with entertainment. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm technically an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? So people see me in the forefront all the time. They might see me up on the stage. They might see me with a microphone or behind the ones and twos, and they just automatically assume, he's just another DJ. You know what I'm saying? Which is cool, because if that's how you see me, that's how you see me. But, at the end of the day, like the reason why I take this thing so seriously and why I've made it so bigger than what it really is, I mean, for a number of reasons. And I'm going to backtrack and just, tell you guys the story of how it all came about. So, I used to do music. I was rapping from like 3rd grade to like 11th grade and was doing fairly well. I got songs on SoundCloud with over like 50,000 views, stuff like that. So it definitely could have went up, but then it got to a point where I was becoming such an asset to my community and I was becoming such a voice for my community that I had to realize that, my influence was, impacting more than just the people around me directly. You know what I'm saying? I was impacting people that I never had even met.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And once it got, appreciate you. And once it got to that point, I had to take that into consideration in terms of my image. Though I wasn't rapping about negative things, everything I was spitting was true, and it was pure lyricism. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Do I want to be, I was doing motivational speaking in high school, getting paid to go and talk to middle schools and other high schools all the time. What type of message am I delivering to these folks if I'm coming and I'm saying, giving all this positive message and I'm like, oh yeah, follow my SoundCloud too. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't go. You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of contradicts that idea of, we don't all have to be rappers or pick up a ball. You know what I'm saying? So, with me trying to deliver that message, it caused me to put down the music thing that I was doing at the time. I was also playing football, also actively involved with other things. So,
but I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like somebody trying to put you in that box? Like, okay, no, he's just a DJ, or he's just motivation speaker, or like the motivation speaker may be a little more invasive for you to kind of do what you want. But like, okay, he's just into music, he's just into law. Like I know for a fact when I came to school, like I want to do plays and stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't want to be known as like a thespian, like just that guy that does this. And you see it happen all the time because like, prime example, the mutual dude we know is like Ty.
Yeah.
Like I had to break my own mold. Like, okay, Ty my barber.
Yeah.
Like nah, Ty also DJ.
Facts.
Okay, then I'm thinking, okay, Ty, you're barber, you're DJ, and then I started talking to Ty, also one what's it? He does real estate, and then you start talking to him more like, Ty's a cool, good dude, and now I'm like, yo, like I'm even susceptible as a sociology major, as a person that I consider myself to be, you know, alleviate a lot of the isms and way you can kind of frame the way you think. I found myself putting, you know, this guy does this, so he's that. This guy does this, so he does, like, and not
Put them into boxes.
Yeah, put them into boxes. Not understanding, respecting the full hood of, like. So how do you deal with that, like, y'all, like, because I mean, you could be a rapper and a motivational speaker and a college student and a DJ and a educator and how do you whatever? How do you feel like when people try to say nah, like Rico Belli the DJ, Dre Sean the Bonner, you know what I'm saying? Like you could do all these things. So like, because I feel some type of way when, you know, even when you play football in high school, but they probably just try to put you also, you the football player too. Like, dude, no, I did everything, man. So how do you deal with that now? Because I know you deal, you know, with it with your music now.
So I think the biggest thing is just understanding that, for one, you know what I'm saying, you got to understand the concept of perception itself, right? So understanding that perception is what people identify you as from, you know, their perspective alone of what they've actively seen. So, I mean, I even catch myself sometimes, and I think this will definitely correlate with the question, but I even catch myself introducing myself differently in different settings. You know what I'm saying? Like at certain times I might say my name is Rico, other times I might introduce, hello, I'm Dre Sean Spearman. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just a matter of really like just knowing, you know what I'm saying, like what setting you're in, you know, because like for me, you know what I'm saying, certain settings, like I am the motivational speaker. Or I am the DJ, you know. So it's just I did like you have to accept the reality of who you are as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what all I come with and what all encompasses with Dre Sean Spearman, with DJ Rico Belli. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you know, it's really because I mean honestly that's a good question, but that's something I struggle with. And I actually had a conversation with one of our fellow Bonner brothers about this a while back about, you know, I was expressing my frustrations about how like, man, you know, I really like, I just said this too, but I really feel like, you know, people are starting to devalue my name as Dre Sean Spearman, and now it's just DJ Rico Belli or it's Rico, and it's like sometimes that was a very frustrating aspect for me at times because it's like I wanted people to see me for the whole me. You know what I'm saying? But you got to understand that you have to give people time to get to know you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like because they like their first impression is going to be a lasting one. You have to understand that, and a lot of times, especially this school year long, because I mean. I've only been DJing a year. Last year, second semester was my only DJ experience, like, you know, phase. So this whole year, you know, a lot, like, for instance, a lot of the freshmen specifically, they know me as the DJ because I was DJing their earliest events for the school year.
They don't know, stop. You walking past King Chapel, anybody walking past here, you speaking. It's not even the stuff you did, you know, with Disney, like before that. Yeah,
it's you know, they don't know that stuff, but that's why I take the time to actually connect with people, and I don't network. Right. Because if you network, they might know who you are, what you do, or they might know what you do, and they might know of who you are, but they don't know who you are.
People need to learn the importance of a conversation. Like I had a recent conversation. With somebody, and they said, if you could change one thing about our current generation, what would you change? And they were like, you know, this is not an easy question if you need to take the time. I said, no, I have exactly what I want to say. As a generation, we have forgotten how to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Everything's on our phone. Everything's on our phones. It's on social media. Everything is tweeted or Snapchatted or Instagrammed, and that's fine if used correctly. All of those are powerful tools, but a conversation can go a long way. You came with us to Chicago when we went the second time when we went during the Classic, but it was the first time that we went to Chicago that made me realize that I need to be involved with Get on the Bus much deeper than this. There was the school that we were going to was Paul Robeson High School in Chicago. We found out a week before we were going that the school was actually getting taken over by the state and they were closing it down. And the group of seniors that we were talking to was the last senior class that they would have graduate. So we get there, and from jump, these dudes is not trying to hear it. They see a bunch of dudes in suits. We doing whatever we doing on Get on the Bus, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they was just not having it. They was like, all right, whatever. This is cool. This is cute. So this particular event, I had wrote a poem, and it was called Love the Hood. It was a love letter to the hood. Pretty much the basis of the poem was, you know, I wanted the hood so much, but the hood had a whole different plan for me. And you know, shout out to anybody listening from AV, from New York, from Queens, Southside Jamaica, all that, because they, to this day, these people hold me down. Since I was a youngin', they've held me down. So I get to Chicago and I say this poem, and then we broke off, and it's like little by little we were breaking these dudes down, and they wanted to speak more. And there was a couple of dudes that really stood out. There was one dude that I spoke to him, and I'm speaking to him, and he has these high aspirations. He's like, you know, I want to play football, I want to do this, that, and the third, but I can't. And he keeps saying, I can't. And I asked him, I said, bro, why can't you do it? He said, I just had a daughter last week, and I can't leave her. I said, so what's stopping you? He said, I'm scared to be in the city, but I'm scared to leave.
Mm-hmm. That's all he knows.
That's all he knew. All he knew was Chicago.
Nice.
He was scared, and he didn't know what else was out there in the world. And he felt like now that he had a kid, it cut off his chances to do everything else.
Yeah, sped up life a lot.
and that broke my heart. But it was the statement of this one dude. Actually, after I had spit my poem, there was another dude who went up and he said a poem. And I said, bro, you better than me. Like, straight like that. So we going through, we all talking, we're talking. They had like legit tell us, okay, you guys got to leave, because we were so deep into conversation with these young men.
Yeah,
and one of the dudes, one of these dudes stood up. He said, you know, if administration would have just sat down and had a conversation with us like you did, our school would not be getting shut down. You ask anybody that went on that trip to Chicago, anybody, and if you ask them what is one thing you remember, they will tell you that statement from that young man. That like we sat on the bus riding back to the hotel in silence, because we were all just so captivated by that statement that young man made. And we were just like, wow. And it made me think the power of a conversation can go a long way. And we as a generation do not take hold of that opportunity. And that's just in general. When you meet people in the street, when you meet a dude, what's the first thing? What's good, bro? How you feeling? All right. Yeah, y'all walk past. Y'all walk.
Short talk.
That short talk that people love to have. When you see a girl, you know, you trying to holler, how you doing, shorty? What's good? Yeah, you're not.
You tell you from there.
You're not getting no substance from that. You feel me? So, I think it was on the bus ride back. We didn't sleep when we went to Chicago, because we were just talking about everything.
Yeah.
We talked about everything.
Yeah, I remember the one we came. Yeah, so we talk about fatherhood.
Yeah, we talk about fatherhood. We talk about manhood, over masculinity. We spoke all of that, and it was just a power. We learned so much about each other in that moment, just from a conversation.
And tears. I was really moved to tears, man. And I was pressing the conversation continue on to be on the street. I said, y'all can come to my house. I said, what was it, like 2 a.m? 1 a.m? I said, bro, y'all can come to my house, man, so we can finish this conversation. Or, you know, when can we have that conversation? Then I made that chat, and I'm like, I kept dropping messages and all other, you know, hot talking points, because I'm like,
I think something ended up happening. We all went off one day in that chat.
I remember what it was something that went on, but like, it took a reaction instead of us being proactive in a way that we should keep that conversation going. Because realistically, we should have been proactive, because we acknowledge it was 13, 14 dudes and more that wanted to be in the chat that like really had a heartfelt like moment and epiphany in a way to like, yo, like I never talked about my dad because I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Why would I talk about it with y'all? Or like, I didn't never talk about my masculinity or the way I move, the way I think, because it was some young
conversation somebody brought up to you.
Yeah, especially with the youngest on the bus. They was like looking at us, but the conversation started because of them. I was like, you know, just asking certain stuff, and then now, you know, you kind of like pushing the envelope to see how certain people react to certain things. Like, so, and that's when the things just start flowing so freely and naturally. And
that part of life, I miss it so much. Like, I appreciate now a lot, now that I'm older, you know, speaking to my elders, going back and speaking to my grandmother and speaking to my grandfather, and, you know, taking the time to sit there and ask them, like, how was high school? Like, what was one of your favorite memories as a kid? What did you learn? What would you do in this situation? Sometimes, and, you know, like, that is conversation, I believe, is a key to wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I believe conversation is key to wisdom because
you're sharing knowledge.
Yeah, you're sharing knowledge. You're sharing experience. You're sharing personal feelings. And you could study as much as you want. You could philosophize and break down and do as much research in the world. But at the end of the day, my experience is going to be different from yours, from yours, from yours.
That's why I don't get them self. I'm not perfect. I don't get them self help. Like, ain't nothing. Those books can because you can only tell me what you know. Like, I think the Dalai Lama said, he basically had a quote that says, when you speak, you can only say what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen, you might just learn something else.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have your 2 ears open. You can only right now you're only giving to what you know to somebody else, and if you actually take the time to pay attention and stop what you're doing, and that's a powerful thing because I would attribute wisdom to other people's mistakes. And if you don't have conversations, if you don't stop what you're doing, if you don't take the time to actually listen and care what somebody else is saying, you won't really ever learn.
That reminds me of a story. This involves you again. It's actually very funny. It's great to see how people grow. So freshman year, like this, me and Dre Sean stayed in the same hall.
We started out with freshman year, so
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So me and Dre Sean actually both ran for House President of LLC.
Okay.
And Dre Sean won. So me and Dre Sean came up to me right after and said, I had a conversation. He said, "Bro, I don't care what happens. You're going to be on my board." So I'm not going to say what happened.
Okay.
Pretty much something that happened. People do dumb things.
Let's just say Kyle still ended up becoming president of the hall at some point.
Dre Sean ended up having to leave his position. And
Freshman year shenanigans. Bro.
Freshman year shenanigans, and we spoke. We spoke, and pretty much, he told me right after like that whole thing happened. He said, "Look, I don't want to just be left out in the field. So if you need help with anything, let me know." And it's simple things like that. We were sharing knowledge. I was bouncing ideas off of him. He was like, I tried to do this. Maybe you could do it in a different way. So like, simple things like that. Just trying to make sure that we don't fail. I think that's one thing the Black community needs is it's so ingrained within our lives and our minds and in our bodies that we have to get to the top of any means necessary. And that then builds the mindset where it's like, okay, I need to get to the top however means necessary. And even if my man's is right here, I got to get there before he do. We're crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned is sometimes the road will be a lot easier if you bring somebody with you.
Yeah.
Like there's things that I know, there's things that he know that, like for example, me and Dre Sean have conversations all the time because I used to host back at home parties and stuff like that. He DJs, so I'm like, yo, let's do something and stuff like that. We said we want to do a podcast. Like I love just talking to people like him, people like you, and just building ideas because we don't sit down and do that a lot. We don't collaborate. Black people don't collaborate unless it's for personal gain.
It's true. So, and I'm going to transition this to one of the questions I have for you guys. It's one of the closing questions I want you both to answer. When you think about like the way you grew up, right? When you think about the way that you were, kind of like, socialized. And I know you can speak about this, because, you kind of understand the sociology of it. How do you reflect on your childhood?
Never forget, and this is something that stick with me like day in and day out. My mama taught me at the age of 3, and I remember this conversation as a 3-year-old child. No lie, my mama literally would talk to me. We would have conversations, and she'd be like, "Look, don't depend on nobody in this world. Don't even depend on me as your mama, because even as your mama, I'm gonna disappoint you." And I feel like that's like outside of "I love you," that's the realest thing my mama ever told me. You know what I'm saying? Because when it came time to those times where she disappointed me, I already knew. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another thing. Like transparency is such a huge aspect that we need to really vitalize within our households. You know what I'm saying? Because if we can't be honest with one another, then that's only going to cause us and our children you know, those who come up after us and our own ideologies, that's going to cause them to not be honest with themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they so busy trying to convince themselves that it's something that is not. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, exactly. like nah, for real. So like, you know, the whole thing like is that like one thing I really appreciate about my upbringing, even though I question so much, I definitely appreciate the fact that my mama kept it so real with me so early on. You know what I'm saying? Even though that encompassed me sometimes seeing or doing or being a part of things that I shouldn't have been.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? By the age of 5, I shouldn't have known what weed was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I shouldn't have been around that enough to even know how. I probably could have. You know what I'm saying? Like
that could happen.
So it's just like, so you know, me. You know what I'm saying? With my own personal growth and development, I would just feel like there's a lot of things where I ain't gonna say rush, but a lot of the maturity that I had to like, you know, face came a little earlier than for others. So which is cool. You know, that was fine. It was just my situation. Like,
but that's the narrative for a lot of black boys though.
That is
growing up early.
Yeah,
or
growing up fast because sometimes you have to take on roles that you don't expect to take on so early. You know what I'm saying? I've been financially independent since I was 15. You know what I'm saying? Since I could work. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, even I was staying with my mama, but I was paying all of my own personal bills. I was doing my school shopping. I was helping her at times. You feel me? Like it's just that happens, bro. But one thing I had to realize is that to each his own. Like everybody's story is different, and you know I never like gave up on my idea of the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? Like I come from 2 parents who neither one of them even finished high school, and for me to be at Morehouse College is like OD. You know what I'm saying? But where that came from is me, you know what I'm saying, seeking beyond just my personal environment. You know what I'm saying? Right. Seeking beyond what I saw just every day. Because eventually, you know what I'm saying, you see the same stuff every day, you get used to it, then you become complacent. Exactly. And, you know what I'm saying?
I get on people back at home that I see all the time. Because, you know, I go home and, you know, you walk around your hood a little bit, you see people, you dap them up. But then, like, you get to a point where I ask, like, I challenge everybody. I ask them, I'm like, yo, so, like, what you doing right now? Oh, you know, I'm just working, bro. You know, busting traps, doing this. All right. What are you going to do after that?
Right.
Like, where you going? Where you going after this? Like, what are you trying to do? There's a dude in my hood. I call him out all the time because I swear this dude was smarter than me. He is one of the most enlightened people that I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting in the hood just smoking. I think he got like a kid or 2 or something like that. He's a year older than me. And I asked him, I'm like, bro, like you could have gone to college. You could still go to college. You could still do something. Why are you still here?
Right.
And it's just because people are comfortable. You know, all right, I can make it this way. I know these people. I'm comfortable here. If something happens, I call this person, they'll be here in 5 minutes. Right. Nobody wants to go to a place where you can't call nobody if you're in the ditch.
Right.
People don't want to go places where it's like I have to learn a new area now. But people don't want to grow up. So you in a space, and especially, you know, in black ghettos and black hoods, where it's like we've built spaces to where it's very easy to get stuck where you're at. And that's why I knew from jump I had to get out of here. I had to. I was in high school. I was working with community leaders. I worked with New York State Legislature. I was interning for them since I was 16. I worked for New York State Assemblywoman Miss Kimberly G. Pierre. So these are people that
listen to all. Like, look, hey, check, not fact check. Go check.
These are people I worked with. These are people I worked with on a daily basis, and it was me and a group of black students that were in high school and wanted to see change within our community. And I just was getting so tired of people giving excuses to why they couldn't leave where they were. Mm-hmm. I was tired of walking through the halls in high school and asking people, where you want to go? Oh, Nassau Community College. Why didn't you apply for this school? Oh, you know, I'm not going to get in there.
Right.
Why you not going to get in there? Oh, you know, like, I'm like, bro, you're giving me a lot of excuses for what? Mm-hmm. Like, it's really not necessary. And not to say that community college is not bad, but it's like the people at my school were so complacent, were aiming for low. So, like, they were like, you know what? I've been told my whole life that I ain't going to be this and I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shoot for the low blow that I know I can succeed in. They don't want to challenge themselves. And to this day, like, I get calls from, you know, past administration at my high school, and they're like, you know, These kids are not like y'all. They have no drive. They don't care. They don't care whether they go to class or not. They don't care whether they fail or not. So it took me from, my freshman year or while I was in high school coming back, I get to speak eloquently to these students and stuff, like to my peers and these students and let them know, like, college is good and stuff like that. I go back now and I legit the very first thing I say, what I'm about to say now is going to be very transparent and I'm going to speak to you like I'm in this school right now. I'm going to keep it a beam with you. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. And then from there, like, I legit have to speak to these people like I'm in the street for them to really understand that the street is not what you need to be. I have to dumb down, and I hate to use that word because I don't want to ever question my people's intelligence. But it's like
maybe it's not. Maybe it's more like straightforward. Like you said, it gotta be more transparent.
Yeah, I just gotta be as transparent as possible.
Because you don't. I mean, because think about the power of words, and though we can use sophisticated, eloquent, or all these higher words, stuff like that, and ways to present. But when you talking to your people, you know how to present and talk to your people. You know how to reach the audience you're trying to get to.
That's also what I was about to add. It also depends on the audience too, because one thing that you don't want to lose is that sense of relativeness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to be the difference between them being receptive to what you have to say and them just saying like, bro, you don't you don't identify with my problems. You don't identify with my circumstances, and that has to be the difference within your approach.
Kyle, you also mentioned about something